Hi folks, this is Rob with the Fox Waterway Advisory Committee. Today we're going to talk to you a little bit about weed management. But before we do that, I want to give you a little bit of background from our watershed plan that has been developed. So the Fox Waterway got funding to do a watershed plan in 2022, and that plan was completed in 2024. One of the key findings from that plan is that there's way too many nutrients getting into the lake. So our lakes need to go on a diet. The two key nutrients that are getting into the lake are phosphorus and nitrogen. And the impact of that can be seen behind me here. With lots of phosphorus and lots of nitrogen, we get an abundance of plant growth that can choke our channelways, and we can also end up with algae blooms as a result of that abundance of nutrients in the lake. So long term, what we need to do is reduce the amount of nutrients getting into the lake. Short term, one of the things that we can do is remove vegetation from the lake. And we're going to talk about that today. Currently, there isn't a program by the Fox Waterway because of resources to remove aquatic plants.
So our aquatic plants are necessary for the chain, and they do provide a balance in the system. They're critical habitat for both fish and invertebrates. Those plants support their life by providing protection and opportunities for spawning and growth. They're part of the critical food chain for our entire waterway. They also provide oxygen, which is important to the health of our lakes and important to the health of the fish. And the emergent vegetation, that you see along the shoreline, does help filter out that nitrogen and phosphorus that's coming into the water. Why are they bad, though?
Why are they bad? Well, the navigation is so important and recreation is so important on the chain of lakes. And so too many weeds, and of course you can't get around. So you can see that some of our waterways are choked up with weeds, so that's one of the bad things. The other thing that happens is you can get the algae, and the algae growth can produce a toxin, and that toxin then makes the water so you shouldn't enter the water, and so that can be really negative. That toxin can also get into the food chain and accumulate. So that's the good and the bad of aquatics plants. So we encourage people to try to manage the aquatic plants in the chain of lakes, and there isn't a good balance in what is right and what is wrong, or what is good and what is bad. And so 10 to 30% is considered just the right level of aquatic life within the chain. So the management of aquatic life within the chain is governed by the Department of Natural Resources, the Fishery Division. And to manage your aquatic life or aquatic plants within the lake, you do need a permit, and it's called a letter of permission to do that. There is one exception, and that exception is if the lake bottom is owned by an individual, then they can do some management without a letter of permission. So the purpose of the letter of permission is to make sure that we're protecting the wildlife and protecting plants. There are some endangered and threatened species within the chain of lakes, and so the letter of permission checks for those, is a check and a balance to help us make sure that we're protecting the natural environment we have here in the chain of lakes. As I mentioned, if the lake bottom is owned by someone, then there's an exemption for weed management in that case, and you can determine if the bottom of the lake is owned by someone by using the GIS systems within the county's resources. Now we're going to talk about how you can manage aquatic plants within the waterway. There are two primary methods that are used to manage aquatic plants. One is chemical and one is mechanical. I'm going to talk about the chemical and then the impact of it, and Pat's going to talk about the mechanical. So chemical treatment is just that. It's selecting the right chemical to treat the thing, to treat the weeds. To do chemical treatment, it has to be done by a certified applicator with the Department of Agriculture, and the chemicals used have to be approved by the EPA. And it's important to do a survey ahead of time to figure out what type of plants you have, because the chemicals can be selective in their treatment. When you do chemical treatment, it can be very effective. It knocks the weeds down really quickly and provides you with an open waterway, which is great. But there are some potential negative impacts. So the first negative impact of that is when those plants decay or they fall down, they start to decay in the bottom of the lake, and that can reduce the amount of dissolved oxygen in the lake, which is a negative impact. The other thing is that decay will add to the sediment in the lake, and then the last thing that it does is actually that decay material is holding nutrients. And so really you're capturing nutrients within the lake, and those nutrients can then help another plant cycle in the future. So now Pat's going to talk about mechanical.
There's a couple of ways to do mechanical harvesting. One is to hire a company, a commercial company that does harvesting, and that's the business that they do. And the other is for individual homeowners to remove the weeds from their own lakefront. It's hard work, there's no question, but it's so important because those weeds, the abundance of those weeds in front of your house or in your channel, when they die back, they create additional excess nutrients which will help feed the next season's weed harvest. It's a good way to get it out. You can use your yard waste containers. They're primarily water, so they will very quickly become easy to move waste that you can put in your yard waste container. When those weeds fall down, they not only provide excess nutrients, they also create additional sediment, which is, as we know, an issue for the chain. And by removing that, it also prevents that low oxygen situation that is created by excess material and excess nitrogen and phosphorus decaying at our lake beds. One issue is that they can propagate through harvesting. Individual pieces leave and then go down and reestablish themselves, but that also occurs with our boat traffic. So it definitely offsets that issue.
Okay, we're going to wrap up our discussion on weed management. So first of all, let's think about why do we need to do weed management. Weed management is because we have excess nutrients in the lake, and weed management is a short-term solution. The long-term solution is about preventing nutrients from getting into the lake. So we'd ask you to check out a video that we've done on bioswales, which is a tool to keep nutrients from getting into the lake. And also, in summary, is you should get a permit if you want to take out weeds. And then but it is a good activity, a short-term activity to help us improve our waterway and keep our waterways open for recreation. Thanks for getting involved in improving our waterway. Make sure you follow some of our other videos. And in the future, we're going to do a series of videos on the watershed plan, so stay tuned for that.